Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start with a roll call. We will start online first with David Holman, and let's go from there.
David Holman, board member.
Okay. Terry?
Terry Abbey, board member.
Denny Terrell, board member.
Wade Hinton, Mississippi Secretary of State.
Wade, glad to have you. I think that's everybody online. Caitlin, you want to continue on, go around?
Yeah, Caitlin Watley, project specialist.
Ricky Flint, executive director. Drew St. John, Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund chairman.
Van Wright, board member.
Joe Cloyd, board member.
Taylor Russell, DFA.
Shelley Amos, Attorney General's Office, Board Attorney.
Brian Williams, DFA, OIT.
Josh Morey, Mississippi Wildlife Fisheries and Parks.
Tony Coe, Secretary of State.
Justin Brooks, Outdoor Stewardship Coalition.
Bud Strong, Mississippi State City.
Great. Did we get everybody? Anybody else online that we need to recognize? Okay. You've got in your packets the minutes from our January 8th meeting. Have we had a chance to review those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the minutes as written. Is there a second? Second by Van Wright. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Van. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next on the agenda is the agenda today, February the 4th. It's right there in front of you. Is there a motion to accept the agenda, or do we need to make any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Van to approve as stated.
I'll second.
Okay, David, we'll give that one to David. David seconded. Okay. All those in favor of approving today's agenda, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. We're in old business now. There is none stated. Is there anything else that needs to be brought up in old business? Okay, not seeing any. We're going to go to the director's report. Ricky Flint.
Thank you, Drew. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have everyone in the room and online joining us. We're excited about today, moving forward with the funding approvals for the 2024 projects. And before we get started in the rest of the agenda, I want to mention a couple of important dates that we've been reminding everyone of. Tomorrow, February 5th, we have a joint legislative wildlife committee with House and Senate to provide them with a Outdoor Stewardship Trust update. That will be at 1:00 p.m. in room 113 at the Capitol. And looking forward to being able to present to our wildlife committees the progress of the Outdoor Stewardship Trust. And I know they're excited. I met some of those folks this morning, and they are anxious to see what we've got to show them. Also, February 27th, we have Outdoor Stewardship Day at the Capitol in the Rotunda. That will be February 27th. That is a Thursday morning, and it will start at 8:00 in the morning and go to about 10 or 11, depending on how schedules go in the House and Senate. But we'll be there at least from 8 to 10. And hope everybody can join us to share our updates with everyone there in person. All right, that brings us to the outdoor stewardship budget. If you're here in person, that's going to be tab 2. And I'm just going to run down some highlights there. If you will notice in that first column, 2022, the interest allocated so far up into 2024, that interest has been obligated in last month's board meeting. It was added to the available funds for projects, a total of $1,530,594.68. We have an additional accrual of $125,039.06 in interest accrual since our last board meeting. When you put it all together, our project budget with all appropriations that we will receive since 2022 is $36,260,000. To date, the outdoor stewardship has awarded funds to $37,334,883.64. We have processed reimbursements to the total of $3,127,320.05. Of that, you see the retention reimbursements remaining is in excess of $33.8 million yet to be paid back in reimbursements. Then you get down to the admin budget. We have a $740,000 total appropriations to the admin budget. Admin funding that has been expended so far, $277,772.99. The admin funding that is remaining, $462,227.01. And we have accrued interest in a total of $23,928.11. So as of today, we have a total remaining available to award $186,503.23. I'm going to expound a little bit more on the admin budget as requested. It's going to be one of our final items in the agenda today. So we'll address that when we get there. Any other questions?
The 186, how did you get that?
186.
The interest in the 61, is that what you're totaling?
Yes, that is the 61,464 plus the interest 125,039.
But we're silent to everything below the admin line.
Right.
This is it's up where he's getting that numbers all above the line.
Right. That includes all leftover funds from the previous 2 funding rounds plus what's left from 24.
Unobligated.
Unobligated. Correct. All right. That should get us to new business.
All right. We'll go into new business on the reimbursement request.
Okay, in the reimbursement requests this month, starting with tab 3, we have a total of 8 items. 6 of those are reimbursements. 2 of those are match confirmations and approvals only. That would be tab 3 and tab 6. We'll come individually as we have in the past. I'll present them all to you and then let you approve them all in one batch. That's so desired.
But maybe as we finish one, if anybody has any questions,
sure,
we can answer them then and then continue on and
absolutely
vote them all at one time.
Okay.
We don't have any.
So we'll go to the first one, tab 3, Mississippi Delta Wetlands Enhancement Projects, Mahana and Howard Miller WMAs. This is a match only confirmation. $512 to be approved for match credit. That is all on that one. It's basically for some DU personnel time at both of those, at the Howard Miller project. Any questions on that one? We'll move to tab 4. The MDWFP project, improving wildlife habitat statewide collaborative conservation. This is a reimbursement as well as match. Match. So the match is $120,577.29, and the requested disbursement amount of $81,868.90, which includes the retention of $9,096.54.
Any questions on that one? Okay.
Moving to tab 5. This is the Highway 57 Sports Complex Walking and Birding Trail with the Land Trust for the Mississippi Coastal Plain. The reimbursement amount has been amended as they originally presented to us. There was an ineligible item for a large piece of equipment, a UTV. Conversed with them and they are fine with that, mainly because the equipment could not be dedicated only to this project. So they are going to use it on other projects, and so it's fine. So the approved disbursement amount has been adjusted to $12,304.08 with a match credit of $7,985.23 and the retention amount $1,367.12.
Any question on the Highway 57 Sports Complex? Okay.
Moving to tab 6. This is the Youth Environmental Stewardship Program, YES program at the Mississippi Delta Nature Learning Center. They are basically finished with their project, but they're continuing to submit their matching funds. This was a rather lengthy document request, but we have a total of an approved match consideration, $88,444.15, and very close to being closed out.
If you're not speaking online, would you mute your mic, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Rich.
All right.
Any questions on the the Mississippi Delta Nature Center? That is a wonderful project.
For those in the room,
we went.
yes, and watched their grand opening.
Yep, it was good.
Yeah.
It was exciting.
They've done a lot of work for a very cheap price, to be honest.
They have. And no equipment. They did everything by hand. Wheelbarrows, shovels, rakes, saws. Yeah, amazing. Hardworking bunch of youth up there. Any other questions? Okay, let's go to 7. Thank you.
Tab 7. This is Renaissance Park enhancements for natural resource-based outdoor recreation by the city of Hernando. We have a disbursement amount of $63,019.02, retaining $7,002.11. And that's another project. We just went and watched the ribbon cutting as they're getting started and moving quickly.
Any questions on Renaissance Park enhancements?
All right, tab 8.
Great.
This is Swamp Access and Interpretation Project at Lee Tart Nature Preserve, Friends of Chakchiuma Swamp. And we have a request disbursement amount of $7,200, retaining $800 with an approved match credit of $2,362.67.
That's the second request on that.
That is the second. You know, they
ran into
that permitting issue and things got on hold for a while, and they've gotten the permits and now they're back rolling again.
Good. That's outside. That's in Grenada. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Any questions on the Swamp Access Interpretation Project?
All right.
Okay, let's go to 9.
Tab 9. Reimagining New Albany Park. New Albany is park along the river. This is with the Little Tallahatchie Riverway Conservancy in New Albany. And we have a disbursement amount of $64,779.30 and a retention amount of $7,197.70.
Any questions on reimagining New Albany's park along the river? Okay,
All right,
let's go to 10.
tab 10. Tanglefoot Trail Bridge, surface and Chickasaw Nation signage trail improvements. This is with the GM&O Rails to Trails Recreation District in North Mississippi, located in Pontotoc. We have a disbursement. This is actually their first reimbursement. $63,094.50 with a retention of $7,010.50.
All right, any questions? Tanglefoot Trail Bridge up in Pontotoc. All right, let's go to project tab 11.
Tab 11 is really just reiterating. I wanted to bring back to the board, y'all gave the executive director the approval to do certain things within budget modifications per y'all's understanding. And this is, I'm just showing you this one. If y'all remember, Clinton Community Nature Center is one of our 2022 appropriation projects. Originally, there was going to be in that project a building of a water well or a rebuild of a water well. They had since had the contractor on site. The well has been deemed unrepairable. And so they have gone and looked at an alternative option. And they're basically doing a catch water, rainwater system. And in their request, they're just saying, we've negated the well, and we're going to go with this option. It costs this much. There is no additional cost, and the additional cost that was would come from this system, it's only $288 they're going to cover as match. And so, just wanted to give you all an example of one of those requests that came through, and so we'll grant them the approval to do so. With that, we'll let y'all handle the action on the reimbursements and match confirmations.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve all of the reimbursement requests that Mr. Flint went through. Plus approve the budget mod, or do we need it? We don't need it. Do we need to approve that? Okay. So just we recommend approval of the reimbursement request as stated.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second. Denny.
Denny, thank you. So there's a motion on the floor by Joe Cloyd, Denny Terrell seconded to adopt the reimbursement request as per stated. Any further discussion? Anybody need any clarification? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right, that brings us to the next new business item, project awards, additional project award considerations. For you who are in the room, in your binder in the left side sleeve, you'll see the, this is Matrix 1 that was approved by the board for project funding last month. Green reflects funded projects, red reflects projects that have not been approved for funding. And as I mentioned previously, we have, with those projects, you funded 27 projects that total $13,151,879.49. That leaves us with an available budget of $186,503.23. That number comes from the available project budget funds of $61,464.17 added to the $125,039.06 in interest. So, as y'all mentioned last month, there were 2 additional projects in the immediate ranking results that could be considered for potential funding. And I present those to you for simplicity's sake. The first one is a $295,000 project with a 33.9% in-kind match, which is project number 52, as you see on the list, described as Universal Outdoor Treetop Experience, and that is with Mississippi Toughest Kids Foundation. The other that falls into the rankings is a $250,000 project. It has a 100% federal match, identified as Project 12 and ranked number 29. It's described as the Enhancing LaFleur's Bluff State Park Amenities, and that is through the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. For your abilities, I just put the project narratives for those 2 projects. If you care to read those, describing what they are, I'm not going to indulge you to read those out to you, but if anybody needs us to read them out to them, I'll be glad to. So with those 2 projects, Drew and I and Caitlin met last week, and we looked at these projects and looked at the available funds, and Drew asked me to put together a couple of possible funding scenarios should the board decide to fund a project or more. And so I put together a couple of funding scenarios that could be possible. And I'm doing this possible scenario using the LaFleur's Bluff and the Camp Kamasa projects specifically. So in scenario number 1, you could approve funding utilizing the current available project budget funds, pending accrual of interest to fund the difference in those needed funds. For example, you have the project amounts for LaFleur's Bluff is $250,000, Kamasa is $295,000. If you use the current available funds and subtracted that from those, you see what the remaining funds are that are needed. You would need $63,496 for the LaFleur's Bluff project. You would need $108,496 for the Camp Kamasa. Now, monthly interest accruals for the project's budget has averaged $99,717 over the last 12 months, and it has averaged $66,417 over the last 24 months. By this trend, Outdoor Stewardship can expect to acquire those necessary funds for either project by the end of February or March at the very latest. I propose this to you as the cleanest option should the board have the pleasure of approving either one of these projects. What I'm in short is saying that by next month, we would have enough interest to cover the difference in those projects using the current available funds.
So the accrual is how much a month?
It's averaging $99,717.
The previous month was that 125.
So, all right, that's where I'm going with that concept. If the previous month, 125, you're using an average that's taking into account, we didn't have that large balance.
Correct.
First year.
That's right. Yeah,
And so you're probably underestimating that number.
that's right. To give the most conservative number,
Yeah.
It's averaging 99 over the last year.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be over 100 going forward.
I think so. I think over the last 4 months, it has been between 112 and 150,000.
On the number of days in the month. And
Yeah, and depending on where we hit in the rankings and all that kind of stuff.
Fed funds rates are.
Well, and I'd like to interject, this is Kamasa's 3rd year of applying. We funded them in year 1 and 2. The LaFleur's Bluff project has come up before and did not make the cut. And,
Just barely.
exactly. But, I really think that, it makes, at least my personal opinion is that the LaFleur's Bluff project probably is worthy of making it's the shortest way to get the funding to work. And, that's just my opinion.
It also has the highest match.
It does have the highest
Federal match too. And in the interest of the timing of these projects and, getting the announcements to the entities that their project has been funded, as far as waiting, this additional month, there's really no difference, because those projects that you approved last month, nothing has been finalized. We're still waiting on them to send us confirmations of their match funds. We have not even started the MOU process with them. So should y'all decide to fund an additional project today, it'll just fall into the mix, and there won't be any significant delays at all. And so with that, let me just go to the second scenario, scenario number 2. Approve funding utilizing current available project budget funds, and you could utilize outdoor stewardship administrative budget and interest accruals to fund the remaining balance. This is something that had been suggested last month for us to look at. And so along with that, we were asked to provide a admin budget to get us through the remainder of fiscal year 25. We did that. And in addition to, we actually projected to get us through FY 27, because with these project approvals that y'all just approved last month, that gives us an obligation to administer these funds through 2027. These are 2-year projects. So what we had to look at was considering the possibility that the legislature does not fund outdoor stewardship this legislative session, or we could get a reduced amount. We wanted to have those numbers in consideration, because that admin budget would have to get us through fiscal year 27. So I'll outline scenario number 2. So you have the project amounts, they stay the same, $250,000, $295,000. You have a current available amount of funds that stays the same, $186,503. You would then be using admin budget funds of $63,496 to fund the balance of the LaFleur's project, or $108,496 to fund the balance of the Kamasa project. And as of right now, the current administrative budget is $462,227 and a penny. If you subtracted the balance needed to make the shortfalls of $63,496 or $108,496 for either project, less the remainder of the FY 25 needs, which you see down in that table below, we have projected the need of $140,842.50 to fund admin through the end of the year. That includes the provision to have our new website that we are working on right now. We have not gotten the quote on it right now, but on a conservative end, it could cost as much as $50,000. We do think it's going to come in considerably less than that, but that's where that $140,000 to get us through the remainder of 25, by including the website creation and launch with maintenance included. So that means that if you use those admin funds to fund either one of those projects, respectively, you would have an admin budget balance of $257,887 or $212,842. And I just made a note. With the most recent project approvals, outdoor stewardship is obligated to the administration of projects through 2027. Without additional appropriations from the 25 legislature, the current administrative budget balance will be required to administer outdoor stewardship. The administrative budget needs are currently projected at $229,439 per year. or $599,722 to get us through FY 27. So it's a possibility. I just want the board to understand that worst case scenario, if we don't get any additional funding, or if we get a reduced amount of funding, it's going to be very tight to get us through administrative of these projects going through 2027. But it is an option.
We still have the ability to cut expenses. We may put the website on hold or reduce it significantly or make some cost-cutting measures as needed.
Do we have any allocated approved projects from 22, for example, that haven't started? Because the obligation could be another way. If something that.
I think there's one that's about to expire.
She's got it. 22.
While they're looking, I want to mention to the group that it is also our intention, if we're earning this interest like this, we don't need to be just sitting there stacking it up. So we are planning on this summer, opening back up to this list and fund 1, 2, 3, 4 more projects. So that is definitely on the agenda going forward.
I don't see any projects from 22 that have not started or submitted a reimbursement yet.
So our monthly.
That's great. That's good.
Maybe I wasn't listening, or maybe I'm confused. I don't, sometimes it's like tell me. Our monthly salary accrual is 17,000.
Yes, that includes wages plus fringe, all fringe.
You have a better breakdown.
So this 229,000 is 1 year.
Yes, that would be a full year's projected budget needs.
Projected or actual?
Projected.
Two is.
I mean, it's actual, but it's using real numbers. We're just utilizing what the trends have been so far and projected needs.
David, you or Denny or Terry have any questions or comments at this stage?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the very worst, if you wait a month to award the last one, you're covered. If you're concerned about using non-existing current funds, a month from now, we would have the funds based off of 1 month's interest plus the excess and the admin to cover both these projects. So I don't know why. I mean, we could award both of these projects and just say we don't actually are contingent on getting that money in the next month and then interest, and you got both of these really covered without non-existing funds. Because I think that gets in a different world. But even though we pretty sure they're coming, I don't know what being government money,
Go back to our conversation we had last board meeting about that. Like 22, that's 2 years removed from admin costs. And my thought is we take the 145, close that year out, and move those funds.
So what the point Ricky's making is, and it's a good one. I mean, we are obligated as a trust to complete the administration of these projects in future years. And if we don't get any more money, what we have is all we have.
Yeah, but we've got that contingency fund sitting over there.
That's projects.
Well, it's still trust money.
Let me note that 145 that you see in column for 2022 is part of the 462. That is the current budget. It's not like it's left over. It's part of the 462.
Yeah, but that each year I would stand on the stump.
Why?
Why not? I mean, the legislature stands on a 1 year budget.
Well, your project money is carrying over, so does the admin.
Yeah, but that admin year is closed out.
I think y'all are both right in the future, you know, kind of what needs to happen is we need to have a contingency dollar amount in place for if there was no more funding to close out the projects. And then once that money's sitting there, then anything moving forward, you know, basically would just fall out from 2 years past.
I'm all for hanging on to 23, but I think 22 should move into the project funds. And then at the end of 24, if we still got X amount in 23, then that needs to move in there. I think that's showing good stewardship of the funds instead of just hoarding that money. What if we get 20 million in the next year and we get 2% of 20 million? What are you going to do with them? That's
a good point.
Should we possibly wait and see what we get this year before we make any decisions on that?
Well, that was my suggestion was I think we could go ahead and fund one project today. This is just me talking, one of 7, and then see how the legislature turns out and how the interest continues to go and, you know, that sort of thing. And then we could fund 2 or 3 more projects this summer. You know, we don't have to speed ahead right now. These projects are going to take a little while to get going.
Yeah, it's that timing of it, I don't think is a big issue whether we decide to do 22 now or we decide to do it once we get funding in June or whenever it is. But, you know, at some point, 22 just needs to roll over into that project.
Well, we would likely know funding for this year in April.
Yeah.
The end of the month.
And consistently do that every year.
Okay.
I agree with what you're saying, Van. I also think what Ricky's provided us is prudent, that if this year they don't fund us, we just want to make sure that we can perform on our obligations that we get given administratively. So that's, you know, we probably have plenty in reserve between the admin remaining the 462 plus interest accrual, even if we do obligate one more project to carry that obligation if they don't fund us. We're hopeful that they're going to fund us again, and we can talk about that in the future. I really it hasn't dawned on me that could be a possibility, and it obviously can be since we're an annual appropriation. Now, do I think it's likely? No. I don't know.
And thank you. And the point that I'm just trying to make is that with the current admin funding that's remaining, which you see in the column, 462,000. By the projected admin budget, you don't have enough to cover it through 2027 as is right now, whether you take some funds out of it or not. Granted, in a worst case scenario, should we not be funded additionally, that's when you start looking at budget cuts and things like that. What can you do to slim it down? I get that.
Yeah, and in reality, you'll make enough interest money to cover it, but.
Right. And I do think that with the interest rates, the interest accruals that are coming in monthly, easily could approve one project today. If you wanted to consider funding both of those projects, I think that's doable in the next couple of months with the interest that is coming in, should the board decide to do that.
Let me ask this question. The 2% times the annual funding, is that not our budget limit?
We can, the statute says that we cannot expend more than 2% of the funds for administration.
But 2% of that annual.
In that year.
We need clarification on that, because if you don't, you know, if you're spending 500 in a year, you only get annual 10 million, 2% of that's 400, then are we out of compliance?
The way the statute reads, I'll read it
It
to you.
says 2% of special funds.
Well, it's 2% of the funded balance
Yes, we got
of that year.
And that's what I'm asking. Is it 2% of that year for that annual?
I'll read it to you. It says the board and the Department of Finance Administration may use not more than 2% of monies in the special fund to defray the board's expenses in carrying out its duties under this chapter.
Special fund has $30-something million.
Yeah, it's got 37 million.
But I don't think they want us to spend 2%
Well,
of 30-something million.
The balance,
34, man, 33,897.
33,897.
Plus the 462. Plus interest.
So it is the 37. Same. I don't have a calculator.
So
Probably somewhere in
the
between.
2% of
It's in
all,
between the two.
the 2% of all, of the,
Yes.
the 2% of everything that has been offered to us is $740,000 over the 3 years. It's the top line there on the admin budget.
Yep. It was
We used to
10 the
track,
first year, 15 the second, and 12 the third.
correct. You subtracted that out of that top line number.
Yeah, but we spent, we've spent 3.1 on reimbursement plus whatever we approved today. And we processed 277,000 in admin.
Right.
So it'd be the 36. Let's see. Yeah, it'd be 36 less that.
All right, I would ask for a motion on the floor on how to proceed. Or we may decide not to
Is this on?
spend anything today.
Chairman, to have a discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve the LaFleur's project. And that we, out of respect for what Van has been saying, that we use the anticipated interest accrual, cover that shortfall of $63,496.77. If for some reason the interest, there's a crazy interest rate change, then I would defer to scenario 2 and use the unexpended funds from the admin budget year 22. That'd be my motion.
So you have,
Too complicated of a
you
motion.
have moved to adopt the scenario 1,
Scenario 1.
okay,
Assuming interest dollars are available.
okay,
For the LaFleur's project.
for the LaFleur's project.
In the event they're not, example, it would defer to example 2.
Okay, is there a second to Joe's motion? Which is LaFleur's Bluff, scenario 1.
I'll second that.
All right. Joe made the motion, David provided the second. Any discussion?
More complicated. At the time of our allocation in April or May or whenever we get legislative, that we pick up this and allocate that to projects at that point in time. So that we create, so that last year gets moved into the projects instead of accumulating. So we gotta do it sooner or later.
Okay, you gotta give us a dollar amount. You're asking to amend the motion?
Amend the motion to add the 145, which is the remaining administrative funds for 22 at the time of our next legislative.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we handle this as one and then we make that as a second?
Okay.
Just so we don't.
Yeah,
I
get
lost.
Yeah.
Let's get scenario 1 done. LaFleur's Bluff. Any other discussion there? All right, all those in favor of that motion to fund LaFleur's Bluff under scenario 1, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I don't know if we got 4 votes.
Terry, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
David, were you aye? David, were you an aye? Okay, I
Yes,
was an
I'm
aye, so we do have 4. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Now, Van, you want to state your motion?
Yeah, I make a motion and add to that motion that Joe made, that at the time the legislature appoints our funding for 2025, which will be April, May, June, no later than June, when the budget year ends, that the unused funds from 2022 and years going forward gets allocated to the project.
Admin funds
Admin,
only,
unused admin.
not project, admin.
No, it gets added to the project funds.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there a second to Van's motion?
I'll second it too here.
Terry, okay, thank you. We've got a motion by Van and a second by Terry. Is there discussion?
I would say, I'm in agreement and we'll vote for this. I think, because I don't think that it's gonna mess up future years, but I do think we ought to spend a little bit of time between now and whenever we allocate the next bit to get a plan for what the future looks like and make sure that we have funds in reserve to operate through our obligations.
Good point. All right. We're gonna vote on Van's motion that was seconded by Terry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Any other business? Any other comments, discussion? All right, next board meeting is March the 10th. We sure hope all of those that are available tomorrow to meet with the joint committees of the Senate and the House Wildlife Committees in room 113 at 1 p.m. Please join us.
And just as a reminder, last board meeting, y'all did make the decision to default to our monthly meetings to be on the second Monday of the month going forward. So March is that first event of the second Monday of the month going out from here. So if y'all hold those on your calendars.
I missed that.
You missed that?
Yeah, but I'll be there.
I usually want to say didn't work good for you. Remember
Yeah,
that?
I think David brought it up.
I'm still
There were a number of board members that stated that, you know, that second Wednesday was not working for them.
With some of us being a little further away, Monday's a little easier.
March the 10th.
I do remember you saying that.
It was David's idea.
Monday's.
It's David's fault.
It's your fault or your credit, David.
Blame me. I like it.
I agree.
All right. Any other further business? Anybody here in the audience? Anything to bring up?
And that's okay.
While we got this many of the board members present, are y'all okay with the notifications that are coming to you about board meetings? Sometimes I don't want to feel like I'm nagging y'all about reminders, but I also understand that you guys are very busy. This is my only job. You guys have got businesses you're running, and I know that you get tons of emails, and you get the email notification for an invitation to the meeting. I just don't want to bug you guys. Occasionally, we'll send you out a group text just for a reminder.
I think you do. Sometimes we just don't know where we're coming or going.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I need the bumps.
All right. So second Monday of the month will be our default board meetings from henceforward. And hope to see you guys tomorrow at the Capitol.
Okay, I'd like to make a couple of comments before we leave. I think this was a good board meeting. I think we made some good, solid decisions. I think it's clear that we are a trust fund board that wants to award as many honorable projects as possible. We appreciate that. I think we did a good job. We've added another $500,000 in projects to the 2024 funding cycle.
250.
It's 250. It's total's 500.
With
It's a
250 match.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's $500,000 project.
I was looking at the asking them.
Okay. So, I commend the board. I think it's a great step in the right direction. We will represent the group hopefully accurately and answer all the questions tomorrow. But thanks for everybody. Thanks for your time. Thank you for attending. We appreciate it. Anything from this group? Okay, anybody online have anything else? Not hearing anything, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Joe Cloyd moved and Van Ray second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those, all right, great. Thank you, everybody. Good meeting.